Hello, everyone, and welcome to our final webinar of 2025. It's wonderful to have you here, especially if you're someone who's thinking about 2026 as a year for me to make a move. How exciting! Today is all about helping you get ahead as we encourage you to start preparing today for an international move tomorrow. For those of you who've not met me yet, my name is Abigail Stevens. I'm the founder and managing director of Think Global Recruitment. I have about 30 years experience of assisting accountants to move globally. Myself, I've visited 53 different countries and lived and worked in England, Scotland, Australia, and New Zealand. So I have a lot of knowledge about what it takes to move overseas, and I'm passionate about assisting others to get an international career and have that wonderful opportunity of living and working elsewhere from where they've started and originated. Before we dive in, a very quick introduction to who Think Global Recruitment is. At Think Global Recruitment, our purpose is improving lives. We've been doing this for almost 30 years, supporting accountants to move all over the world. It could be to Bermuda, Australia, New Zealand, the Caribbean, the Channel Islands, Europe, the UK, everywhere, you name it. We've assisted accountants to move there from a wide variety of different locations as well. Today, we're going to look at how you can prepare for a successful move in 2026, not looking at it the month before, but planning now ahead while everyone else is still just thinking about it. We've assisted accountants to move to all over the world for about 25 years now, and we've assisted over 2,000 professionals to move to 63 different countries. That's over 43 different nationalities. For those of you, well, you're all accountants, I'm sure you can do the sums. That means that there's at least 10 countries I haven't visited yet that we have moved people to. I'm going to need to get my finger out and get there. What we're going to cover today, it's absolutely packed with information. It's going to include why start preparing now, where accountants are likely to be moving to in 2026, what global employers look for in strengthening experience, key documents you're going to need, timing your international move, predictions for 2026 job market, personal preparation, financial preparation, visa and work permit awareness, avoiding common setbacks, creating a 2026 readiness plan, and how Think Global Recruitment can help you. There'll be success stories, and we've got our famous Q&A session. So please feel free to enter any Q&As you've got right now into the Q&A part of our webinar section. You can put your questions in there, or as we go, if something comes up on a slide and you think, oh, I want to know more, put it in there and we'll answer that at the end. Okay. So you may be wondering, it's only 2025. Why do I start preparing now? The truth is 2026 opportunities form well in advance. Recruitment cycles vary dramatically by region. And of course, visa processes can take 4 to 12 weeks, generally 8 to 12, and some even longer. Documentation, especially things like police clearances, transcripts, can really trip people up along the way, more often than you would believe. If you're leaving this to the last minute, the time hiring peak season and leave it till then you'll find that you're behind on the game. Starting early is how you stay ahead of the crowd. Okay, so let's talk about destinations in 2026 that we're predicting are going to be hot, not just heat hot, but hot places for people to go to. Before I do that, though, perhaps I should start with 2025. This year has been unprecedented. In the 30 years I've been assisting accountants to move across the globe, I have never seen such a slowdown in roles. The market has been exceedingly slow. The good news is that when you have a slow market, it's usually followed by a strong one. So 2026, the Caribbean and Bermuda will remain favourites for those who want sunshine and sophisticated financial services roles. These islands recruited less people this year, which usually results in their need for a lot more people next year. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Australia and New Zealand continue to attract people for lifestyle, work-life balance, although there's always competition for roles there, and they tend to be more preferred to hire people from the established markets. The UK remains a choice for many. However, we're not seeing much visa sponsorship for the mainland this year due to the large number of applicants available that do have working rights. We recommend considering the Channel Islands or any other offshore island like the Isle of Man, which have always wanting experience people, and it would give you a chance to gain UK experience. Europe's been challenging this year due to the requirement for language skills. We're hopeful the Netherlands and Luxembourg in particular will open up by mid-2026. Again, though, if you think about Ireland and Malta, they're really good options to move to Europe, where English language skills is the only language that you're going to be required. And then we have emerging hotspots, areas that quietly strengthen their finance markets and will need more talent than ever. Wherever your dream location is, we believe there will be more opportunity by mid-year. And if you prepare now, you're going to have a smoother journey along the way. So let's start by getting in the minds of hiring managers across the globe. And what do they actually look for? Well, the first one has to be career stability. This one's always a bit of a surprise to people. However, even now, when we know that some generations move around a lot more, they are still seeking this. And particularly on the international market, it gives them the comfort that when they're going to invest a lot of money and time and take the risk of moving someone across the globe, that person is likely to stay with them for a bit longer, because they're already showing stability in their background. Technical strengths, I think, is a bit of a given. However, there is also a real commitment to quality, and they will test this at interviews using competency questions. Experience with relevant industry sectors is very important as well, and that can vary depending on where you're going. For example, if you want to go to, say, Bermuda and the Caribbean, particularly the larger islands, financial services experience will really get you ahead of the game. If you wanted to go to Perth in Australia, you might want to get oil and gas. So have a look into the industry sectors in the locations you're interested in, and that might give you a clue as to where you can try and get some experience. Any sign of leadership, informal coaching, and stepping up into these roles really goes a long way as well. Adaptability also. You can show that you're adaptable when you land somewhere and you pick things up quickly, then that will really help. And again, this is tested by competency questions. And it's not just picking things up, it's adaptability working with different cultures. Global employers love candidates who have already demonstrated an international mindset. You do not need to have moved yet, but they will see a mindset in your experience. So perhaps getting experience of working in large groups where you're working with counterparts across the globe, then that would really help in your experience there for making you look great. Finally, motivations. They want to know that you've done your research and that the location they're interviewing for is the right location for you. So make sure that you have done that research. So what can you do right now to strengthen your profile? Well, ask for exposure to different sectors, volunteer for technically challenging engagements, and offer to step up, acting as a manager during busy periods, etc. It might not be that you get to move at that level, but if you've got that experience, they can see that you're somebody in the future that would be a great career move once you're up and running and you know how to do things. Take ownership wherever you can. Having your work stream is a great way to demonstrate leadership before you officially hold the title. And we know this year that some people have been disappointed that there's not been the opportunity to move, but staying with your current employer if you can, so you can show stability. Okay, so strengthening experience, additional differentiators. Some of you may want to take it a step further and build what I call golden experience. So IFRS and US GAAP exposure is incredibly valuable. SOX PCOB knowledge is practically a superpower in global audit right now. We're getting asked for it a lot. Depending on your location, you want to move to relevant sector experience. You're never going to go wrong with financial services, banking, funds, insurance sector. It opens doors everywhere. There's a high demand. Also, if you can get involved in tech-enabled audit tools or data analytics and AI, you instantly going to stand out. One of my predictions for the future is that only people with these skills will secure the best job moves. This is the slide that has saved people months of stress. Please check your passport now. Many countries require to be valid for at least 6 to 12 months beyond your move time. Typically, move times that we're talking about the initial visa period, which could be a 2 to 3 year period. Gather academic transcripts of your qualifications and your qualification certificates. Request police clearances early, so these can take time, but remember that they last for 6 months, so you'd need to do it within 6 months of the move. Ask for reference letters. These are still a requirement in many locations, and many firms want them. So while you're still working for a company, ask those people who know your strengths if they can do a to whom it may concern reference. Also, if you can, get copies of your appraisals when they come up. If you have to screenshot them, whatever you need to do, get a copy of them. You can always blank out any sensitive material in them, but people love to see these, and appraisals will get you ahead of the game. Make sure your CV is updated for international hiring. It's slightly different to a local CV. More information, the better on CVs. I can't say that enough. A one page is not a thing for the international market. In fact, I don't even think it is for the local market. People are not psychic. They need to know what experience you actually have. We have other webinars on this, so please do follow them. For Bermuda and the Caribbean, holding a long-term US or UK or Canadian multiple entry visa makes a big difference. To get the visa for working in that country, you have to have that ability to come off the island, and the only places that you can go from the islands is the US, the UK, or Canada. So that's very important. You could look into those now and get a long-term one. Australia, New Zealand, and the UK offer working holiday visas. So if there's somewhere you want to go, if you can get one, then take a look at their requirements now and see if you're eligible. Because some employers will say, okay, well, that's easier for us to start you on that. And both parties get to try before they buy. And then they'll sponsor you when the period of time runs out. Literally, applicants who have visa application ready can get priority over those that aren't, because employers are very conscious that it can take a long time to get a visa, and they'll move forward with those that are ready first. Timing's everything. So here's what you need to know. Caribbean and Bermuda hiring peaks around June and July for September starts I'd say September to November start days. We do have some firms that are already interviewing for those start dates now, and some of them are told they're going to start in February. This is unusual, and it is actually an indication they're expecting to hire more next year, a positive indication. There's not quite as much as we'd like, though. Australia and New Zealand, recruitment picks up usually from about April onwards. They have a bit of a dead period between December and January because that's their summer holiday months, and they don't even open for the first couple of weeks in January. So yeah, it tends to recruit all the way through the year and stay recruiting from April through to November. In Europe, things really start moving after June when the busy seasons have finished, and then they stay active until the end of the year. So when should you start employing? Well, in most cases, a few months before the start date is the ideal timing. For those going into a practice role, before the busy season of your chosen region is the best time to go. Firms generally like to start you in advance of busy season so you're up and running. They don't have time to train you, and they also want to be kind to you, so you haven't got to learn while you're having all this work given to you. However, it's never too soon to speak to Think Global Recruitment, as we can put together an action plan and give you relevant advice as to where you want to go and when. So touch base with us and feel free to ask questions. Come to our webinars where we have Q&A sessions as well, so that you're fully aware of timing. And if you've got particular timing today, feel free to add that to the Q&A for later. Okay. So here's some of my market predictions, or our market predictions across the company. So 2026 is going to be an interesting year. Expect a slow start due to the busy seasons and the ripple effects of things like the US tariffs going across the world and political uncertainty. As always, though, the high demands are going to be for auditors. We also expect to see growth in areas like tax, advisory, ESG, and risks. And we're already seeing some roles coming along in corporate finance and insolvency. Recruitment's likely to be a rebound after the slowdown in 2026 later in the year. Mobility is going to get a little bit trickier. A lot of countries are tightening up their immigration requirements and putting the costs up for that. But lower level roles may also shrink due to automation and AI. However, people who understand AI and new technologies will be in high demand, as we've mentioned before. Competition will increase, which is why it's so essential to prepare and get yourself ready for this move. Okay, so let's talk about the human side of relocation. Are you mentally ready to make a move? Homesickness, independence, adaptability all play a part. Building your support network early will make a huge difference. Managing your family expectations is always a fun conversation to have. Have that now. Sit down, chat to them about where you think you're going. Maybe See how they feel about going there on holiday. That might increase their support for you. Understanding cultural differences also helps you settle faster. So do your research before you go somewhere and know what might be a difference there that is going you need to settle into. And in some locations, show that you're learning to have if the basic language skills, that you're learning them, and you've got either basic to advanced skills will go a long way. Okay, so financial readiness is also one of the most underrated parts of relocation. You do need savings to relocate, even when your employer supports you. The cost of living varies massive by region. You'll need funds to pay for flights and for visa expenses, and you nearly always need to pay for these up front and then get them back in your first pay packet. Some employers don't even refund that. They expect you to be paying your own way to get there on the flight side of things. If you speak to us, though, we can let you know about each location or each type of company and what their package is for that. Tax relocations can be brilliant for finances, but you do need to understand how they work because the cost of living is also fairly high. And temporary accommodation when you first get to a country. Remember, you're looking at things like Airbnb and Booking.com for that. That is going to be, outlaid by you on many occasions. Sometimes this is refunded though, the first couple of weeks accommodation. Setting up an international bank account is also something people only think about when they arrive, whereas it can be quite tricky. Some banks like to see a lot of stability in a country and stability in roles. However, if you could go to maybe a bank like HSBC, who are very international, in your local area, talk to them and say, if I set up an account with you now, if I'm moving overseas, can I then just transfer it to overseas? And therefore, you've got time with that branch and with that bank. Otherwise, you could look into online banks such as Monzo and Revolut. They're really good options because you can work with them across the globe. Okay, so some of this I have touched on before. However, it's so important that I just want to touch on it again. Visas are where the wheels fall off for many people. So know the process for your target region. Have a look at it in advance. Some places have really good websites for it and some don't have such good websites on it. Australia, for example, has a brilliant step-by-step guide on how their visas work. Understand typical timelines so nothing takes you by surprise. Gather your documents early. And just get all that paperwork ready. If you're moving with a partner or children, make sure you understand the requirements for them too. Most employers do not pay for family visas, relocation costs for roles below the senior manager level. In some countries, you can get dependent visas for spouses and children, and other countries it's harder to do that. They have to actually get jobs in their own right to be able to move with you. So understand all of those things. In our experience, the most common setbacks are usually the ones you can absolutely avoid. Waiting too long to start preparing, for one. Missing key documents, applying outside the hiring window and missing your chance. Using a CV that's not suitable for global hiring and underestimating relocation times. Things can take longer than you expect. Okay, readiness plan. This is where everything comes together. Create a month-by-month plan leading up to when you think your ideal time is to go away. If it's soon, then you might want to do a week-to-week plan. Choose your top destinations. We have a worldwide presentation actually in January, and we're going to be talking about all the different locations for accountants across the globe. This will help you assist with this. Identify experience gaps and close them. Set deadlines for completing your documents, just like you would at work. And make sure that you're registered with us so that you're aware of Think Global Recruitment. If you're registered on our books, you'll be getting lots of information leading up to the time to be ready to move. And be ready for as soon as hiring opens up in your chosen region. Okay, so at Think Global Recruitment, we help move accountants across the globe. Hopefully you've got that message by now. We offer insights into global employers and markets. We will give you advice on documents and timelines, and we help you find the right role for your location and the career and lifestyle you want. It's amazing how many people will register with us for one location, but then we'll talk them through and find out that location is actually not right for them, but somewhere else is better. We tailor applications for each role. We know what the employers are looking for, and so we'll make sure we got the right information in the place where they need it. We also use video introductions. So we've got a great tool that will help you stand out above others when it's a market where there's a lot of people applying for jobs these days. AI's sort of really affected that as well. So many applicants are going in, and employers are being inundated with, say, 1,000 applicants for one job. If they've got videos for you to introduce yourself, you often get ahead of all those other applicants that don't have a video, because they can see that you're good. And what's the point of looking at the other 900 applicants? We'll support you all the way through relocation, right up to and post start date. We don't just leave you once you've got the job. We'll be there to talk you through and answer questions you have about documents. And we can answer questions you have about moving, when your emotions are going up and down on making the move. Any of that, we're here for it. To us, it's not just about recruitment. It's about preparation, strategy, support, and improving lives. So we've helped accountants move across the globe. There's Bermuda, the Cayman, the Caribbean, Australia, New Zealand, Luxembourg, to many, many places. What we're missing on here is this slide earlier on did have lots of quotes from people who've moved across the globe and their stories. You can visit all of those on our website. We've got stories on there. We've got a whole reel of testimonials from people that we've assisted to move across the globe. And you can gather information from those stories as well as to where's good for you and what sounds like a good place to go. Every move has a good story, and everybody does say two things. One is just do it. It's the best thing you can do. And then most of them do say they wish they prepared a bit earlier for some of the things that came up along the way to make that move. So starting early will make it smoother and stronger for you. Right. Okay. Now it's over to you. What would you like to ask? If it's about timing, documents, destinations, your own personal situation, feel free just to ask anything. I'm just going to pull the Q&A panel up. I've got a few pre-questions as well that people put on their registrations as well. I'll go through. So somebody's actually asked, what should my top priority be when planning an international move? First priority's got to be deciding where you're going and making sure it's the right thing for you. So checking what your motivations are. Why did I want to go international in the first place? And will that location 100% offer what I was looking for? I would say that's the first thing. And then it's thinking about getting all those documents together that we mentioned. So thank you for that question. Next one that I had was, I'm interested in a move to Australia. You mentioned the working holiday visa. Are they open to everyone? Unfortunately, the Australian working holiday visas aren't open to everyone. You need to look at the requirements. They have reciprocal agreements with certain countries. And I know for sure, say, if you were coming from the UK or Ireland, absolutely, you can get a working holiday visa for Australia. But unfortunately, it's not open to every nationality. And it's not, and then there are other slight requirements in there. So have a look at that and look it up. Okay, I've got another question. Why do my applications keep getting rejected? I really couldn't tell you. The person said I'm from Zimbabwe, but it can't be just because of that. It will depend on your experience. Location, it's not where you're from. There are some countries though that are looking at the moment, because they're being fussier, for experience from countries that are established, that are very similar markets. So, you know, Australia is asking for British and Irish experience an awful lot. Okay. Are the big four more likely to pay relocation fees? I prefer a smaller firm, but are they unlikely to help with relocation costs? It does vary, you know what, between firms. There are medium tier firms that definitely do help with relocation costs, and there are some big four that do and some that don't. So it really does depend. But on where you go, we will help you with that. If you each of you have a different background, a different case, we can give you more information from that. And the person who asked why they're being rejected at the moment, if you want to send me an email, then I'm more than happy to give you a bit more feedback if you haven't had any of that from us so far. Okay. If you're being rejected from us as well, you know, but I can also predict why you might be predicted from employers, because they tell us exactly what they're looking for. If I plan to move from February 2026, is it too late to start applying now? When's the right window to apply for international opportunities. Okay, so I did mention earlier on for different locations, it varies on the location as to when the right time is to apply. So it depends where you're going. It's not too late to apply for February 2026 for some locations, although the visas are going to take up to February. So you'd need to apply almost immediately if you want a February start date. They'll take 8 to 12 weeks to come through. Usually, at the moment, around 12. We got Christmas breaks coming up as well. Immigration go on holiday at Christmas. They're a government establishment, so bear all that in mind, and you might need to be looking a bit later if you're moving to Europe or the Caribbean. That's right in the middle of busy season, February. So most of the employers prefer to have had you on board by now. But again, individual cases, please do contact us and we can have a look and talk to you about that. Somebody else has been trying Ireland, Australia, and Canada with no luck as yet. They have South Africa and UK audit experience from Big Four and mid-tier. Okay, great experience to have. Absolutely brilliant. The Ireland recently changed, unfortunately, their immigration rules that's making it harder for South Africans to get in there than it used to. So it used to be quite an easy process. We had somebody, for example, who it actually ended up taking her 5 months to get her visa, which was really frustrating. So I think some of the firms may be a little bit now aware of that and choosing other people from other backgrounds that don't take so long to get the visa. However, it will open up next year. Australia, they're particularly asking us for people from UK and Ireland at the moment, but there are certain pockets of opportunities depending on your background and your experience. It really does depend on what you've been doing. Canada is really tricky at the moment. There's a lot of Canadian accountants that are staying put and aren't moving as much as they used to. So they're able to fill most of the roles from local people. And because America, a lot of people that would have gone to America before are now choosing Canada because it's virtually impossible to get into America. They definitely don't have their borders open. So with Canada, you can, if you're a qualified accountant, apply to get Canadian permanent residency. It can take up to a year to get it, but if that's the place in your heart, once you've got Canadian PR, then the firms in Canada are more likely to look at you. They it's not there is another visa that has been touted around that says you're qualified for Canadian PR. That doesn't work. They still have to make the application for you. They want you to actually have it. So yeah, okay. Would I have a better opportunity applying for an audit role abroad rather than an accounting and finance role if I had experience in all relevant aspects? Audit is the highest requirement. So absolutely, there's more requirements for people that have audit experience than there is other areas because that's it's something that companies have to have done, and there's always going to be a need for it. Even though some of the lower levels are now sort of getting a bit more AI getting involved in them, they still need auditors across the board. So it depends because if you've been away from audit for more than 12 months, companies won't reconsider you to go back into audit international market. You need to then get it on the local market, get back in audit, and then make your international move. But yes, if it's in the last 12 months, then audit's going to be a much better option than looking for accounting finance. The reason for accounting and finance roles in short demand on the international market is that they can fill them on the local market. And it's all about that. If an employer can fill somebody on the local market, that's what they're going to do. So somebody said I didn't talk about non-financial services audit and leaves us non-financial service experience in grey area. No, non-financial services. I've talked about Bermuda and the Caribbean. That's mainly financial services audits. However, the smaller islands do have roles that are for non-financial. And also, in fact, we get every year a couple of PCOB experience roles that are non-financial services or roles that are non-financial services in Bermuda and Cayman. But the other islands like Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, BVI's, all of those types of roles, they look at mixed sector. And then Australia, New Zealand, we get far more call for mixed sector than financial services there. UK and Europe, we can get non-financial services and financial services. It's mainly the offshore islands of financial services related. Okay. So I did go through some of them earlier on, but come in January to our presentation because we're literally covering each location, type of experience they look for there, and type of experience you're going to gain, as well as what it's like living and working there. Okay, what's the average time from applying to the job actually starting? Other countries, some countries quicker than others. Okay, the visas just about everywhere are 8 to 12 weeks. If you need a work visa, then that's the slowest thing. So when you start looking for the job, so applying for jobs, you can hear back anything from 1 day to 2 weeks. Sadly, on direct applications, sometimes you just don't hear back, as in, going directly to companies. But at least with the recruitment company, we push to get feedback so that we can let you know a yay or a nay. Um, but then from that time, usually the interview process takes a couple of weeks maximum these days. There are some employers that might spin it out for 3 weeks or so. But yeah, typically, so from applying to getting your job offer, you can talk up to 2 to 4 weeks. And then when you've got that, then you're talking 8 to 12 weeks. Okay, hopefully that answers that one. I've got some more here. Okay. How do I get registered with you for audit opportunities? I'm looking to relocate from India. Yeah, if you send your CV to mail@thinkgr.com, which I've just put into the chat, you can also apply to particular jobs on our website. All of the jobs on there have an apply button. Then we can help you out there and look into helping you do that. Okay. Um, so somebody's saying that they from India with PCOB external audit experience for 5 years, Big Four, offshore locations. So I think you're working remotely for offshore companies. The key thing with that, the companies ask for is, have you had much direct client experience? Because sometimes when the offshore audits, you're doing more of the back office and not meeting the clients. If you're meeting the clients online and being direct with them, that will really help with your offshore experience. This year it hasn't been so great for the roles because there's been so few of them. But I'm sure next year, if you've got some good key experience, then yeah, you can look at the local global opportunities, and often where you've gained the experience from, if you're doing international from India, then those are the locations to look at primarily because you've got the relevant experience for that. Um, Okay, so somebody else has asked what is the current job market for accountants or professionals in finance in the UK? For some reason, a lot of firms, even the Big Four, are not sponsoring visas anymore. Why is that? It's because there's a lot of people looking for jobs that have got visas. Um, so the market is tight. There's less jobs than ever before, and there are more people looking. And if they don't need to sponsor, they won't. There's really, really good quality people in the mainland UK at the moment. I mentioned earlier on about looking at the Channel Islands as an option to gain UK experience. If you go there for the next couple of years, you can always move to the mainland after that. We see many people take that route. Um, we're hoping by next June things will improve on that, but we're just not sure what's going to happen and how the market will flip. A lot of reasons for the lower jobs, just going back to the economy, with America introducing these massive tax tariffs to people, it's affecting businesses, and everybody's waiting to see what this is going to happen because some businesses just won't be able to afford the tariffs, or they'll have to change their models, and they've got to work out how that's going to work, and it just is causing a little bit of problem. Also, some threats of war and other political things going on across the globe. Um, so, okay, somebody's asking about what the opportunities are in Big Four in Australia and New Zealand. Come in January. I did cover some of that earlier on, but what the opportunities are in those countries. And you can also see on our website, as I said, a lot less going right now than there usually is. Um, Now then, more questions. We've just got 3 minutes to go. So um, somebody's feeling very discouraged, and I'm so sorry about that. It's nothing that we can do. It is literally just the markets, and we've just got to hope that everything settles down as soon as possible. These things happen, recessions happen. Well, they're not officially talking about being a recession at the moment. The market is very is a bit stagnant in every sector, not just accountancy. So I talked to a lot of other colleagues in recruitment industry doing different sectors, and it has been very flat. So yeah, no, we do keep a database. When you apply to us, somebody else is asking about that. Um, then we if we get your permission first, and if you're happy for us to keep your details on file, then we'll keep your details on file, and we can reach out to you when jobs come up that are relevant. I'd still keep an eye on our website. You can actually save a search on there as well that will alert you, just in case we don't see you amongst all the applicants. But it's a pretty damn good database. We've invested a lot of money in it, so hopefully it will bring up you for the relevant roles. Okay. And somebody joined a little bit late, and they've got multi-sector experience from South Africa. The UK is damped down. They're interested in the Netherlands, Ireland, Australia, Canada. Um, if you come to me directly, and we can meet with you if we've got relevant things for you, or we'll meet with you when they come up. But we've also got our webinar in January, which is going to go through all of these different locations. I have covered Australia, Canada, and Ireland. The Netherlands this year did a strange thing, which was just asking for Dutch language skills from everybody. The year before, we placed many, many people without Dutch language skills, especially if they had Afrikaans, but that seems to have died down at the moment. But it will flip around because they'll have enough people with language skills, and at some point they'll need people just to come in and take the roles up. Yeah. So, okay. Well, I think we're getting to the end of the time now. I really do thank everybody for coming along today, and I know you've all got lots of burning questions, and the market hasn't been as good as we'd like it to have been. However, do stay connected with us, and we have the contacts. We've been doing this for. Think I myself 30 years, think global recruitment 25 years. So we've got the contacts, we know when the roles will come up, and we'll be ready and help you get ready for when it's time to go for those roles that are going to be right for you. There's our next presentation. You will get a link to invite you to register for it. And we are aware it might be busy season for you when it comes up. We do repeat it a bit later in the year, but if you want to get there, it's going to be run in the early evening, depending where you are. In fact, there's a typo there. It should be 6 p.m. GMT time, 7 p.m. Europe, 8 p.m. South Africa, 1 p.m. Cayman Islands, just for reference if you want to see. But the times will come up when you go to register in your time zone. You can follow us on Eventbrite if you want, and it will tell you about all our webinars as they're coming up. And you can also go to our YouTube channel where we post the webinars, so you can watch them in hindsight. If the person that was late today wants to go back and see the beginning, you'll hear some of the answers. In fact, there's a couple of you I think were asking questions that I covered during the webinar. Please feel free to go back and watch it. It will go up in the next few days, and then you can have a look, and you can follow our YouTube channel. There are other historic videos in there you might find useful to do with interview preparation, how to make a banging CV, and things like that. So anyway, thank you very much. Your global career generally starts with one decision, and that is to start preparing early. And we look forward to helping you make 2026 your amazing year overseas. So thank you for attending.